Just 3 months before Diddy's highly anticipated trial, his defense team just suffered a major blow. On Friday, things took a surprising turn when one of his key defense attorneys unexpectedly withdrew from the case. It came out of nowhere. What makes this even stranger is that the attorney didn't provide a clear explanation for leaving. There were no specifics, no details, just gone. This only adds to the mystery surrounding this already intense legal battle. After Diddy was arrested, his defense team quickly got a significant upgrade. He added 2 more powerhouse lawyers to his existing team, which included Mark Agnafilo and Tenny Geragos. The newcomers were big names. First was Alexander Shapiro, the same attorney who defended Sam Bankman-Fried. Interestingly, SBF and Diddy were even housed in the same unit at the detention center. Wild, right? Then there was Anthony Rico, a seasoned defense lawyer with experience handling death penalty cases. Though Shapiro and Rico joined around the same time, it was Rico who recently filed to officially leave the case. In court documents filed on Friday, Rico wrote, "For reasons set forth below, this motion to withdraw is filed so that Shah Kombimis can move forward with his defense and begin jury selection and trial without delay. After discussions with lead counsel Mark Agnafilo, this motion to withdraw is submitted. While I acknowledge that local rules require withdrawal requests to be supported and granted, there are sufficient reasons linked to attorney-client privilege that justify the brevity of my application for withdrawal. Although I've provided Sean Combs with the high-level legal representation expected, I can no longer effectively serve as his counsel." There's a lot to unpack there. Essentially, he's stepping down without giving too much away, suggesting that the real reasons are protected by attorney-client privilege. Whatever's happening behind the scenes must be serious enough for someone like Rico to walk away just before the trial begins. So, in simpler terms, Anthony Rico has officially resigned from Diddy's legal team, but he did it in the most lawyer-like way possible. He's saying, "I'm out, but I can't say why because of attorney-client privilege." It's vague, a little mysterious, and totally fits the nature of a high-profile case like this. But here's the important point. According to the court filing, Rico's departure shouldn't cause any delays in the case. Diddy still has a strong, 5-person team of defense attorneys. Mark Agnafilo, Tiny Geragos, Alexander Shapiro, Jason Adriscoll, and Ana Estavao are all still firmly on the case. While the motion for Rico's official withdrawal still needs the judge's approval, it's expected to be just a formality. The prosecution isn't objecting, and Rico already discussed his departure with lead counsel Agnafilo before filing the paperwork, showing that this is being handled internally with agreement. Judges usually won't make a big fuss about this unless there's serious drama, which doesn't seem to be the case, at least not on the surface. Let's focus on Anthony Rico for a moment because he's not just another lawyer off the street. He's a major player in the legal world, particularly in death penalty cases. This is the guy who's defended clients in over 45 federal death penalty trials. That's not only rare, but practically legendary. He's been involved in some of the most controversial and high-profile terror cases in U.S. history, including the World Trade Center bombing conspiracy and the 1998 U.S. Embassy bombings. Having been in the game since 1982, his sudden departure from such a massive case only adds to the intrigue. Now, let's talk about Diddy. He's been in jail for about 5 months, waiting for trial on some serious federal charges, including trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and, notably, the charge of transporting individuals for prostitution. That third charge is what his team is actively trying to get thrown out. Why? Because they argue it's based on an outdated, racially biased law that shouldn't have been used in the first place. This law, called the MAN Act, was originally known as the White Slave Traffic Act, which speaks volumes. The law was designed to criminalize transporting people across state or international lines for prostitution, but over time it's become notorious for being applied in racially biased ways. Diddy's lawyers are emphasizing this, pointing out that no white person has ever faced charges similar to his, suggesting selective enforcement. Here's where the defense starts to shift its tone. They're not denying that Diddy transported people, particularly male escorts, across state lines. What they're saying is that it wasn't for prostitution or trafficking, it was just personal business. The defense claims it was consensual adult activities, which happened privately, in bedrooms and hotels. They're presenting it as something unconventional, maybe, but not criminal. The defense argues that it was all between consenting adults and the government is misrepresenting it as something it wasn't. On the flip side, the prosecution believes that Diddy used force, fraud, and coercion to pressure individuals into acts they didn't want to participate in. They claim Diddy recorded these encounters for personal satisfaction, and that this wasn't just kinky fun. It was an abuse of power. Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges, which is why this is headed to trial in early May. Despite sitting in jail, Diddy's name continues to make headlines, not just because of the federal criminal charges, but also because he's facing a slew of civil lawsuits. However, it hasn't been all bad news for him. Recently, one of the most explosive civil suits, where a woman accused him and Jay-Z of abusing her when she was 13, got dismissed. The accuser dropped the case, and both Diddy and Jay-Z have always denied the allegations. Jay-Z even sued the accuser's lawyer for extortion, calling the whole thing a shakedown. That case is gone, but Diddy still faces other civil claims. Now, here's the big part. If Diddy is found guilty in the federal trial, he's looking at least 15 years in prison with a potential life sentence. This is no tabloid drama, it's serious and it's looming. With everything unfolding, it's clear that this isn't just another celebrity scandal. This case is shaping up to be one of the most significant courtroom sagas in pop culture history. But with just 3 months left until trial, the defense team has lost one of its key members. Anthony Rico, a central figure, has stepped down. This is significant, especially given the timing. Rico wasn't just a background figure, he was a major part of Diddy's defense. But as for why he's leaving, that's still unclear. The paperwork doesn't explain much. The filing includes a line saying, "There are sufficient reasons related to the protections afforded by attorney-client privilege for brevity." To put it simply, it's like saying, "I have a reason, but I can't tell you." There could be various reasons, and attorney might withdraw this close to trial. It could be something as simple as non-payment, but in Diddy's case, money isn't the issue. Other possibilities include disagreements over defense strategy, a personal conflict with the client, or even personal health reasons. Another theory is that Rico might have a prior connection to one of the alleged victims, creating a conflict of interest. If that's the case, stepping away would be the only option. What we do know is that Rico and Diddy seem to have a solid relationship, at least in court. They were seen interacting, passing notes, even hugging. This doesn't seem like a relationship falling apart, at least not publicly. But the good news for Diddy's team is that he still has 5 lawyers on his side, including lead Mark Agnafilo, Tenny Geragos, Alexander Shapiro, Jason Adriscoll, and Anna Estavao. That's still a strong team. The presence of multiple attorneys, especially a female lawyer, could be strategic, particularly in cases involving sensitive cross-examinations of female victims. The judge is likely to approve the motion to allow Rico's withdrawal, given that the government isn't objecting and that Rico and Agnafilo had already discussed it. Judges usually don't complicate things unless there's serious drama, which doesn't seem to be the case. It's a shakeup, but not necessarily a cause for panic. It could just be a strategic move or something happening behind the scenes that we're not privy to. In situations like this, it's about finding a balance. Rico provided just enough information for the judge to approve the motion without revealing anything that could harm Diddy's case. He knows how to walk that fine line. Diddy's defense seems to be building its case around one central theme: consent. They're leaning into the argument that everything that happened, no matter how wild or unconventional, was fully agreed upon by all parties involved. They're not denying that the encounters took place. There are just too many people involved to deny it outright. Instead, they're reframing the events as consensual activities, not trafficking. The defense is also focusing on the idea that any claims of coercion or abuse are rooted in regret. They believe the people involved are now making accusations because of regret, embarrassment, or personal vendettas. At the heart of this defense is also a challenge to the federal charge related to the Mann Act. The defense argues that the law is outdated and racially biased. They're not just contesting the facts, they're contesting the very foundation of the law itself. However, Proving selective prosecution in court is a tough challenge. If Diddy is convicted, these arguments could be crucial for later appeals, even if they don't win in the trial phase. That's why motions like this are filed. They help preserve the right to challenge the conviction later on. With Alexander Shapiro now on board, it's clear that the defense is preparing for a rigorous legal battle. The government, for its part, is expected to rely heavily on video evidence. Video doesn't lie, and it will likely play a central role in the case. The prosecution is also preparing its witnesses carefully, with Cassie Ventura expected to be a key figure. How she testifies will have a significant impact on the case, especially considering her personal connection to Diddy. The defense, however, will work hard to discredit the testimonies, framing them as consensual encounters gone wrong. As the trial nears, the stakes are high and the outcome is uncertain. But one thing is clear: this case is far from just another celebrity scandal.